Long-time duck hunter, first-time caller.
If you are woke or DEI, I suggest you check out.
Here they come.
Okay, hold up. They're coming around the front.
We're ready.
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right, they're coming around. One more swing. This is going to be it. When they put their feet down, everybody get ready. I'm your host, Rick Schmidt.
I'm your host, Jeff Sukup.
Welcome to Generations Waterfowl. All right, cut them. Sit down.
Bud, you're on fire.
Hey, we're back. We decided to do another podcast tonight. Jeff and I and Bud are inviting some special guests in tonight. Based on what I can tell, I think we're going to have some good laughs tonight. The pre-conversations lead to, we're probably going to have some good laughs. The intent of Generations Waterfowl is obviously to expose everybody to the different generations of waterfowl, which there are. There's old school, middle school, new school. Each one of them hunt differently. Each do it differently. Every way works, and all our plans is to get all of those out in the open for everybody to talk about. We have some younger guests with us. Jeff is a lot older than me. He's an older guest. We have you, Bud.
We're the same age.
Well, maybe pretty close, but I have hair.
So I'm the old man.
So
let's just jump into this thing and get it going. So,
okay, well, let's make some introductions. To my left is Gary Adler. Gary, thanks.
You bet.
Thanks for being here. And to my right is John and Joe Soder. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So we're all going to pull this podcast off again tonight.
Yeah.
And if you follow along with Jeff and I, if you don't laugh, you shouldn't be listening. Oh, and by the way, if you're woke, DEI, or any of the above, and you don't like cursing, you need to check out right now.
However, we would like to invite you to our next podcast because I'd like to embarrass somebody face to face.
Yeah, Jeff's pretty.
Besides me, Jeff.
Besides you, Bud.
He's fairly good at embarrassing people face to face. So, literally, like he's doing it to you right now.
I'm used to it.
Okay, all right.
That's our love language.
So, Jeff, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, Gary and John and Joe have all done their fair share of public hunting, so I kind of wanted to make that the topic for this evening.
Yeah, let's jump in.
I mean, what are the pros and cons? Let's start with Gary.
Well, to me, the cons are you got all these people calling all the time, whether there's ducks flying or not, and then you got the people that are, shooting at ducks and way too far out there, sky blasting or sky busting. That's the con. The positive is if we go to places where it's a draw-in, and if you get a low number, you usually got a great place to hunt. You're gonna see ducks, which is the positive. I've never really hunted anything, private or, I did some club hunting with John when I first started, and that's kind of what got me hooked. In fact, I pulled up a picture. My first duck I shot with John was December of 2012. And so that was the first time I went hunting. I retired in 2011, and lo and behold, he says, you got nothing to do, come over and go duck hunting. So that's how I got into the game.
Now he's the busiest retired guy I know.
I've been told that
that's not how I'm going to be. I'm telling you that
I keep
right
saying
now.
the same thing. I'm like, I'm just going to lay around when I'm retired, but I got a bad feeling I'm going to be pretty busy.
There's going to be things to do.
Always something to do.
Yeah. So where do y'all hunt?
Well, usually we hunt the conservation areas in Missouri.
Yeah.
We got down in the southeast part of the state. We went into Duck Creek and Otter Slough. In the north part of the state, we go to Grand Pass. I haven't been up to the northeast part of the state, up around Hannibal, Ted Shanks Conservation Area. We hunted the
Shanks, BK Leach.
BK Leach.
What was the refuge we hunted in the trees where it was?
That's Duck Creek.
Duck Creek when they opened
and
up
that's
that federal spot.
We hunted the Mingo Wildlife, our Mingo refuge there.
And that was wild. We were lost in the woods that day.
Yeah.
Walking in circles.
You walk in and you just look for an opening in the trees.
It was crazy.
And then you set yourself down against the trees. And, of course, once in a while, we get a little bit perturbed and try to look at our phones to see where we're actually at. You're out in the middle of nowhere, so it doesn't really tell you. So finally we got to where we started pinning our truck in the parking lot so that we could get
You
back
could get
to it.
back. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
makes
that
sense.
that was a worry as the day went on. I think we walked in circles that day, and then we saw headlights, in the late afternoon. Like, oh, there must be a road over there. Let's walk that way. And then we ended up popping out and making our way back to the truck. But,
Yeah,
but
that's
that's exciting. Public hunting is great, and I like it so much because you can go to a different place all the time. You don't have to be tied to one place. You can go travel. You can stay a couple of nights in a cheap motel. And I always thought, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to drink beer and eat steaks and all that stuff. And it's not like that because you work your ass off. And you're tired, and then you go to bed, and then you do it all over again for 3 or 4 days, and then you come home.
Yeah, and if you're like John, he likes the buttermilk or butterscotch milkshakes and Dixie burgers.
Yeah, the chili cheeseburgers with coleslaw on top, and then you chase it down with a butterscotch milkshake. That's
And
it.
then he throws
and then drive 4 hours home.
I was going to say, you don't do that before hunting, right?
Well, you should find a Mexican place there the night before.
Yeah,
That's good times too. But I've had a whole bunch of that in Missouri. I think we've hunted damn near every one of them in Missouri over and over. A lot of them.
Yeah.
I definitely have some favorites, but then I did spend a lot of time, in Illinois with, at Horseshoe, Calhoun Point, Stump Lake. I've built several duck blinds over the years. This guy helped me here when he was just a young kid. I had a $400 V-bottom boat I bought when I first started, and I just remember, the Asian carp knocking him over as a 2-year-old out there helping us build blinds up at Stump Lake. So.
Well, I have some good friends that live out past St. Charles, and they've hunted every one of those places you just described. Every name is familiar when I talk to them, and there is one consistent thing that you all said, and including my friend Jason says the same thing. It's an incredible amount of ducks because the refuges are so large, and even though the ducks are getting pressured, the refuges are so amazing that just the sight of watching the ducks is cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, down at Shell Osage, which is down in the southwest part of the state, down around El Dorado Springs or Nevada. Oh gosh, you're going in, all you hear is ducks, and then what's really cool, they got a lake out in the middle, and to see the snow geese and the tornado, and the sound that makes, it's just unreal.
Yeah.
And to experience that, I said that was worth the trip. I didn't even have to shoot a duck. I just enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, that's what
that
my
or
friends say,
you're
too.
sitting in your blind and you look up and you think, boy, that's a black cloud moving in. Well, and you look down a little bit later, you go, oh, geez, that's not a cloud, that's ducks. It's just unreal,
Well, I'm trying to learn a little bit about public hunting. I mean, obviously, we hunt my farm, so it's private, and it's very similar to what you just described. So we created every landscape you could possibly imagine so that every day is a new day. You're hunting flooded timber one day, you're hunting flooded corn the next, you're hunting a goose pit maybe on Sunday, you're hunting a dry field maybe on Monday. Because I liked the fact that public hunting had so many different landscapes. I'm exactly like you described. I want to sit in the duck blind, but I only want to see that landscape for about a day or two, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to look at something new. We gotta move.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that we've walked in the dark, even in our farm before, and managed to get lost. And it's like, oh boy, this isn't good. Where the hell are we at? So.
And it never fails, walking into the wooded areas like that where it's flooded woods, I always end up taking a drink. It's it's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
You're walking through
we've all
logs
done
that
it.
are buried logs, and when
it-
you're my age, you trip and you fall, and you look around and say,
I don't think anybody currently on this podcast has ever fallen in the drink, right?
Yeah.
I was that close.
Me too. That close.
Yeah.
Bud, how about you?
Oh, do we have time for that?
We have time for one.
Yes, I've been, a couple times? Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need a laugh. Come on, give us one. Give us one.
Can't think of the top of my head. Help me out here.
You sure?
Yeah,
The
help me
UTV? We got my UTV stuck, and you said, "Oh, I'll push it."
Oh,
I said I wouldn't do that if I were you in the water.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were out there doing stuff. And me, I'm about helping people, trying to, do what I can to help people. I was like, I can get this UTV, not a problem. And Rick's like, you sure there's some pretty nasty ruts out there? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Next thing I'm doing my thing. Next thing I'm in, I'm covered in water.
Laying on your back.
On my back.
In the water.
In the water. I'm like, cool, no problem, no again. I think I did it twice that day.
Twice on the same day.
Same day.
Yes.
So, no, I've never been wet before.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're in good company is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Speaking of that, we do sell waterproof items. We sell the Hello Dry gun case and the Hello Dry backpack. So we may not even have to worry about
There
getting
you
our
go.
gear wet anymore.
Might be a good thing for you, Gary.
That's right.
Waterproof gun case.
The last time I did hunt the timber, I put a backpack up on the tree. I wound it into the tree, and here I end up going out to move a decoy, and head first. I come back. Luckily, it was only 40. I mean, the temperature was like in the low 40s to mid 40s, and I had an extra sweatshirt in the bag, so that saved the day for me. But main thing, keep that belt tight around your waist. You don't want that water going below your waist.
Speaking of that, I also have another story about getting wet. I had first time Rick asked me to go duck hunting, and I was like, absolutely, sure. And I didn't know better. All y'all probably know by now, I'm a duck hunter, or I'm a turkey hunter and a deer hunter. I was like, absolutely, man. So I grabbed the backpack the best I could, load up my normal backpack. I'm thinking, great. And Rick goes, what is that? I go, that's my backpack. He goes, sure you want to bring that? I'm like, yeah, I got to have my stuff. He was like, okay. And I'm like, we're walking out to a particular blind. I'm like, oh boy, it's getting deep. It's getting deep. Next thing you know, my backpack's in the water. I'm like, okay, lesson learned. So here on out, you got to have a waterproof backpack.
We got you with a gun case too, didn't we?
And a gun case too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need that.
He says,
Especially the one that floats.
He said, I got a waterproof gun case that floats. So we're sitting in the blind like this, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at that. And I said, you think it floats? And he goes, yeah. And I picked it up, and I went, phew, like a dart.
So that's another lesson I learned is anything new around Rick, it will fly out of that window to be tested.
It's everything is truly tested at the farm. Is that going to fall? Jeff, do you think that's going to fall off the UTV?
I think you're like Chuck Yeager.
Yeah,
You
it's
just got to
like-
see what it can do.
Yeah, it's like, let's see how bad this really is.
I will share one of the, I got a friend who I hunt with occasionally who's handicapped. And so we would hunt the handicap blinds. And usually you'd think, oh, they're going to have ducks there. Most of the time there's no ducks there. But we were at one of the places. We set out, I was throwing out decoys. And all of a sudden, I started out waist deep. And pretty soon I am 20 yards, 30 yards in front of the blind, and the water is up to here. And the wind's blowing, so it keeps lapping over the top of my waders. And I'm like, and this is a handicap blind?
Yeah, right.
I said, you had a handicapped person out there trying to, I said, there's no way.
Well, they probably figured the handicapped guy couldn't throw the decoys out that far.
That's probably true.
He's not going more than 20 yards out anyway.
But the next, and I'm one of these, I write it down and I send it off, and no response. And then the next time we hunted that same blind, I pull up, and the driveway to it is flooded. So I thought, should I try it? So I went ahead and pulled through with the truck, dropped everything off, get back in the truck, drive. I had about 1.5 mile drive to park the truck. So I parked the truck. I'm walking, I get about halfway back, and I realize my waders are at the blind. So I had to walk back to my truck, get in my truck, drive back, get my waders, go back, and then walk all the way back into waders. And I was like, boy, that was stupid.
Sounds like a candidate for the Coot Award.
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility.
Kudo award, huh?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever burned a waders? Have you burned them? Like singe them on fire? Or
Yes,
Oh,
I did.
absolutely.
I did.
No,
I
you
sat too close to the heater on a really, really cold day.
Did you?
I am
And they
not the
shrunk.
only one,
I
Rick.
could hardly get them off my body. They shrunk so much. Neoprene, 5 mils of neoprene, they shrunk so much.
So-
and then I couldn't fit in them. I gave them to my brother, who's a lot thinner than I am.
You know what I
So here,
found
you
out?
got some new waders. They're
You know
heat
what
tested.
I found out? No way I have stock in this company. But if they want to send me a case of the stuff, I'd be glad to take it. But Flex Seal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the genius I am, I'm like, well, I just singed my
Like the tape or the spray stuff?
the spray.
Yeah.
And I singed my, that's another funny story. And I singed my waders because I was on fire that day, literally. And I'm like, oh no. And big old hole in my waders. I'm like, what am I going to do? I need these for tomorrow. I took Flex Seal, sprayed them down. I kid you not, it works.
Huh.
So, a tip for your waders.
There you go. You know, Rick, I will say, since this is generations and we were talking about public hunting, I really want to hear from Joe because his style of public hunting is so different than me being in my mid-50s, well, damn near mid-50s. His style with his buddies is a lot different than my style, and he's invited me to go a couple of times, but I've declined politely for a lot of reasons. But his style's a lot different. Like at
No run and
Carlisle
gun
or,
for John.
Cofine Lake, where they go after they party all night. Well, you go ahead and tell this story.
Yeah, we leave at midnight, 11 o'clock, and drive all through the night and setting out decoys and stuff at 2 in the morning because it's first come, first serve. So if you're not there early, it's not
not
you're
gonna
hunting.
happen.
It's not
So
gonna
yeah,
happen.
you got to go home. And so some nights you're there way too early and no one else gets there till 5 o'clock. But other times it is.
But you guarantee yourself a spot.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guarantee yourself a spot and you take a nap in the boat. And sometimes you sleep too late and there's birds in your decoys while you're sleeping in the boat. But
Well,
They're waiting for you.
so this is why it pays to be young. So I'm in my mid 50s also, and I have friends that hunt the same generation that you do, and I'm astounded most of the time by the energy level, the technology, the change in their strategy, how many times during the day y'all change it up, and it's different. I like to listen to everybody because that your generation views it so differently than ours, and we were part of the initial revolution of decoys and motion and stuff, but the things they have now for you guys are amazing. I mean, it's incredible the technology you're all using. So do you use like Onyx and stuff like that?
yeah, I have Onyx, so you can find all the spots and then you can map it out so you don't get lost like old guys.
The old guys do. We're following headlights on the highway.
So I think he just backhanded all of us.
I think a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Like,
I'd
come
say
on,
we had
Boomer.
it. I think we had it coming.
Yeah. What do you mean you're lost? You couldn't read your phone?
Yeah.
I didn't have my phone.
I'm afraid to pull it out on my waders.
How many days do you typically hunt in a row?
In a row, usually just one.
One day?
One day out of the weekend, yeah.
So you're running and gunning for a whole day?
Yeah.
Yeah, by that time we're at home on the couch, probably eating
Yeah.
a cheese sandwich
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That type of hunting draws you to obviously more ducks because you're putting in the work to get where they're at. So are you scouting or
Sometimes, yeah, we usually do go out and see where they're at, but sometimes it puts you on more ducks, but sometimes you'll go out and do all that work and maybe see a couple fly by and that's
He's
it.
got a good network, though. A lot of friends. He's got a lot of friends that hunt, and they may not be friends, but there's a lot of acquaintances that they talk.
Yeah.
And they're all pretty kind. They're all pretty nice guys. Once you get in with a group, and you might catch an invite for an early September goose hunt and end up having a hell of a good time. And
Those are-
and so I feel like I've kind of brought him up and kind of given him the skills a little bit to go out and do things on his own, and they do. These young guys do. And
I'm amazed.
They work hard during
Yeah.
the week, and then they go out and they might drink beer till midnight and then go off towards sleeping in the truck the rest of the time. But we've all done silly things like that in our lives.
Well, I think the level of communication at your age and your generation is amazing. Like just an example, just scouting ducks. One person that you're friends with who's scouting ducks can alert 4 or 5 different people in one text string or one message through Facebook or whatever the case is. And Jeff and I are sitting there like, what'd you do yesterday? I sat on the couch. Well, did you scout? No, I didn't scout. I'm not going to do that. And I get enamored every time I talk to my friend Jason. I'm like, you put that much work into finding them ducks? And he'll tell you, oh yeah, we get up midnight and go out there and sleep it, but they get the best spots. So you get the handful of ducks and you kill them, and hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. We're more of the waiter around kind of guys.
Some folks out there want to get into waterfowl, and public land is their only option. For me, I hear a lot of stories how public land can be pretty interesting, very
Fist fights.
I think I heard a lot of fights and arguments, people shooting over you, trying to shoot your birds. A lot of the horror stories with that. So that kind of turns people off. And again, I heard some wonderful stories about public land. I'm like, man, I get it. So what are some tips for folks out there that are wanting to try waterfowl on public land? What is the best way to go out there with courtesy, ethics, and the best way to go about it? I mean,
That's funny you asked that. The first time I hunted at Calhoun Point, they had a little shack, where their check-in area, their draw area is a little job trailer. And Calhoun Point's right where the Illinois River and the Mississippi River meet. I don't know if you've ever been up there, but it's right there at the peninsula. And me and one of my buddies went in there one time just because. And I drew the first pill, which is, you're an unpopular guy if you draw the first pill. And so I cracked a joke, like, so where's the best spot, is what I said. And everybody was dead silent. All the locals up there, they were all just as quiet can be. And I was cracking jokes because, why not? And I counted groups, and I saw how many pills there were and how many spots there were. So I knew we were going to hunt. I knew we were going to have a blind. So I made the joke, and everybody laughed, and I said, you know what? I'll pick last. I don't know where I'm going. I'll just pick last. It'll be fine. And everybody else picked, and one old guy sat in a recliner at the edge, and he stayed until we were getting ready to pick. And he grabbed a map, and he said, all right, this is available. This is a pretty good spot. It's easy for you guys to find because you're not going to know where you're going in the dark. He said, go here, launch your boat, go over, and it's going to be right there. And he helped us.
Oh, great.
And that was the only one out of a room full of guys that helped us. But, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes because those guys up there, it's kind of a different kind of area. So I didn't want 4 flat tires when I came back to the launch ramp. So I picked last, and I knew we were having a good hunt. We knew we'd go anyway. And it was a great day. We had a great day. So, and that was the first of many times that we we didn't really become regulars up there, but we hunted enough to where people knew us.
Sure.
And they treated us with respect and all that stuff. So it all worked out good. And another thing too is don't be afraid to go get lost in the woods.
sure.
Well, I can imagine many of people go get lost in the woods on public ground. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's got to be a common thing.
Well, these young guys with their Onyxes, they never get lost. They never get lost. So
I'll bet there's parts of the Shawnee that on X don't work.
I bet you're probably right.
That's an area nobody wants to venture into. Yeah, that's not
I
good.
got a good story about that. My dad and one of his really good friends went to the Shawnee squirrel hunting. And after about 3 hours, they realized, shit, we are lost. And finally, Dad just sat down on a log, and his buddy's like, what are you doing? And he goes, well, pretty soon my wife will figure out I'm out somewhere having fun, and she'll show up and save us.
I thought you were going to say you saw Bigfoot out there.
It's a good possibility, bud.
Well, I think it's good for each one of these podcasts to explore the different generations and areas of hunting. And, public hunting is always explored by everybody, and they have good experiences and they have bad experiences, and they're just all over the board from, I had a great time at Carlisle to, oh my gosh, I never want to go back there to, Ted Shanks to, all those kind of things.
Horseshoe, that's another one.
Horseshoe and
I had a lot of fun at Horseshoe.
I did too, and I almost sunk a boat at Horseshoe.
Yep.
Yep.
well, we've never sunk a boat ever.
Damn near.
You've sunk everything there is to be sunk.
Ever.
That's true.
Just remember to pluck.
See why we get wet?
Yeah, I bought a bigger boat because of Horseshoe.
I completely understand.
Boat hunting, we have an area of the farm we boat hunt, and the water can go from knee to, neck deep if you're not careful. So you use a boat in those kind of places. But we don't use the great big boats. But the littler boats can definitely tip over on you. I'll tell you that. And if you're pretty limber, you can stay in the boat, but your guest, they don't stay in the boat. And then they've had a pretty bad day. So.
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Surprise. So I guess the real question is, when you have different generations hunting in different areas and different this and different that, certain things work, certain things don't. I like to learn about public ground because everybody's bringing something new there to trick the birds that somebody else hasn't tricked. What did you guys start employing in the last couple of seasons to be smarter on how to trick the ducks?
We added motion and then we stopped calling.
Okay.
We weren't good enough callers, I don't think, and so we stopped calling, and it did help quite a bit.
Sometimes you got to know when to shut up.
That's what I found the most is the people that call. The ducks aren't getting it. They're not getting into the decoys. Where, you know, I went this past winter, you know, I wasn't calling. I'm terrible at it. You know, once in a while, if they're flying away, I might, you know, squawk at them is what I call it. But I was having actually ducks swinging over to the decoys. But, you know, and the guys next, you know, they're hunting maybe 150 yards away, you know, they're calling the whole time, and the ducks would just, you know. And so, like Joe said, you know, stop calling. There's just way too much the highballing, you know, trying to bring ducks back. They're not coming back. I'm sorry. You know, once in a while, if the guy's really good, he might bring them back. But majority of the people that are out there calling aren't going to bring those ducks back.
So we did something very similar. We really cut back the calling to very quiet calling, and we employed a ton of motion this past season. So we almost had as many motion decoys as we did normal decoys. So when you were looking at a spread, everything was moving. Something was moving this way, something was moving that way, something was splashing, something was tipping. I mean, it took me an hour every night to hook everything up to the chargers after you were done hunting, but the success was better, and we noticed that what everyone calls stale birds in our world, they were really adult ducks that had seen everything. So by the time they got to us, we didn't shoot any juveniles. They were all, you know, they were very adult ducks, and they were very smart ducks. And every day it was like, what do we employ next to figure this out? Because calling at them is getting worse, you know. And we've got good callers down there, and we've got good setups, and the motion thing, that's why I was asking you, you know, are you employing motion? Because that was a game changer for us last year. Like way back in the day when they started with a robo-duck, it was very similar last year with all these motion ducks. They just bought right into everything you put out. The threes that you normally have a hard time battling, you would get them. But, you know, we tried different things. Do you guys use the butt ducks?
I have a rippler, and so I don't
ripplers?
have a butt duck, but yeah, it's a rippler, and it creates ripples all throughout your spread.
Yep. And we're using them in the timber?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were using them in the timber too. So we, you know, Jeff got his experience in the timber with us this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was.
Star Wars.
Yeah, he might have.
It's like they're flying through the asteroid field. It's some of that timber hunting's just so exciting. They just come barreling through, and once they come in, they're in there.
I don't think so. What do you think, Jeff?
He's there. He's not there. He's there.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Oh yeah.
We were hunting in this timber plot, and some guests we had with us shot some ducks, and they sailed one, a couple gadwalls, into the timber. I said, I looked at Jeff. I said, oh crap, we're gonna have to go with the dog. Even the dog wasn't gonna find this, this duck. So we go walking over there, and out of it, we didn't make it 20 yards. And Jeff's like, there's everything in the world under here that can trip you. I'm like, yep, this is the timber. You know, everything under the water is going to trip.
Roots.
It was not pretty.
It was not. Have you seen two grown men walking, just holding trees like kids, walking along, holding the trees?
I thought you were going to say holding hands. That scared.
That's only when you hunt, bud.
Yeah, when we do that for your benefit.
And that wasn't my hand.
I don't judge. Whatever. As long as you're happy. I'm here for you.
I am not hunting in the same blind with you two again.
Also, you talk about motion. I know sometimes we go the old school route with the jerk cords.
Yeah.
You know, that can be effective too. I mean, there's been times.
I still have them in
Yeah,
there.
there's been times when
The old guys still have
You know?
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know?
That's
Does the
what I
young
was-
guy have a jerk rig?
Only
Only when he takes my stuff.
Oh, he takes
right?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
So I have a son that's similar to that. When I go looking for my waders or a specific gun, it's like, that's not where I left it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in my truck.
What's mine is mine, and also his.
Yeah, we pretty much live that.
He's going to get it all eventually, John.
Someday. Hope not for a long time.
Well, we've got new hunters, seasoned hunters, young hunters, and we got a pretty big mix here in this group tonight. There's 6 of us, and you guys have yet to get to hear the Bud Ballone stories. So he's got to put a couple in here tonight if you want to laugh. And if you have done anything similar to him, you might bring up your version of it.
I think my favorite is when we were trying to open that pipe.
Oh, this was awesome. This was amazing.
So it was after duck season. We're trying to drain everything down. And it's, it's one of those big metal covers that's like this, and it's held on by the water. The water has pressure up against it, and it was stuck in the mud, and there was sticks and leaves and, a foot of mud holding it in place. So Rick and I are both down there pulling on it, and Bud's like, is there anything I can do? I said, well, you could crawl all the way through the pipe and push from the inside.
Oh, no.
And Bud started up over the levee, and I looked at Rick, and I thought, is he really going to crawl in that pipe? We stopped him.
Yeah. I love the spirit, Bud. I really do.
I appreciate it. I looked at him like, I
I
can
love
fit
the
through
spirit.
that.
Something occurred to him when he was looking down in the pipe, like, if I crawl in that pipe and I push on that thing, I'm likely to get flushed out.
Wait a minute. Yeah. This could go bad, like real bad.
Yeah.
They'll find me down the road.
That was before the 99% speech.
Yes. I think there's a whole lot to Bud that you don't know, and I don't know how much you really want to know, but, he's trouble.
We told Bud that 99% of the time we're just giving him crap, don't listen.
So, yeah, he's trying to figure out where's that little point
He's
of
looking for
percent.
that 1% truth.
1%.
Probably the best thing that I would never forget is I was sitting in the duck blind with Jeff and Rick, and he goes, "Hey, Bud, did you hear about that time where this goose, is a goose or geese or whatever it was flying, and he dropped the golden brick?" I'm like, go ahead, Jeff.
No, that'll take a whole podcast all in itself.
Well, long story
For the
short, I
golden
was
brick.
like, oh, okay. Then he said another point to the joke. I'm like, oh, I get it, Jeff. So next time goes by, and next you know it, I see this golden brick on the ground. I'm like, holy crap, Jeff. It did work. It really worked. And Jeff went in the back, and without telling me, he found literally a brick. He spray painted with gold paint, sat it on the ground. I'm like, holy crap, it really worked.
And Bud found it.
And I found it. So it's true. It's true. So when you guys are duck hunting out there, look for the golden brick because they could be out there.
Remember that 99% theory,
I,
right?
I'm learning.
That was on the 99% part, Bud.
Bud, I will say, if they're making fun of you and having fun like that, that means they like you.
We
I
told
appreciate
him
it.
this.
And if they ignore you, then that's bad.
Oh.
So you're in good shape.
You're in
Thank you.
way
Appreciate
good
that.
shape.
Yeah,
Thank
I always tell the young guys that I had a lot of young guys working for me, and I had old guys working for me too back in the day. And the old guys would give some of the young guys a bunch of grief. They'd give them hell just all the time right in front of them. And then one of the young kids was all upset, and I'm like, hey, look, that means they like you. If they didn't like you, they would completely ignore you. So that changed that kid's attitude, and he got pretty comfortable, and then everything was fine.
You feeling
Very
pretty
true.
loved now?
I feel a lot of love.
Yeah.
99% love.
So you know what? Yeah. So you know what Bud figured out real fast with Jeff and I? The way to our hearts is through food. So he brings food, and he sits there on the Blackstone, and he'll cook you anything while you're duck hunting. So we said, there's no way that we can run him out because
No, he does all the cooking.
He does all the cooking,
Wow, I can't. That's great to hear. Jeff has always been the duck blind
I
chef.
was always the cook.
He does a great job.
Well, he'll
Always
cook.
has.
He cooks once in a while, and it's pretty amazing. And one morning he shows up with a bag of some kind of sausage he'd made up, and he cooks it up on the thing, and he says, I got a little bit of fennel and some other stuff in there, and I take one bite of it. I'm like, what do you mean by little bit? I mean, I could hardly eat one bite of this. He eats this whole plate. It's a heaping plate. And I'm staring at him, and I'm looking around the blind. I'm thinking, I'm going to give him about 15 minutes, and he's going to explode. He's sitting there, and he's smiling,
He's going to have to go walk back to the levee, isn't he?
Rick has a tiny bathroom next to the tiny house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he's in the blind, crippled over, and he's holding his gut, and he's like, I gotta go.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, something's. He says, I think I'm gonna go over there in the weeds, and I'm thinking I'm gonna let him suffer for a few minutes before I tell him about the tiny thing, and he's getting ready to get out of the blind. I said, Jeff, why don't you just take the UTV and go on up to the bathroom? He's like, yeah, you think so? I said, yeah, in your case, I think I would go up there.
That's a good idea.
I've been there, Jeff. I've
Yep.
been there.
Yep.
And we
Yeah.
Yeah.
remember one time we were hunting with your with John's brother, and he had it coming out both ends.
Oh no!
Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was at Shell Osage.
Yeah, or the blind.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Out on the mount, blind
Yeah,
mound.
that might have been his first time duck hunting, and he shot a bird, and it landed right in front of us, in front of the decoys. And the action had slowed, and I said, Joe, my brother's name's Joe too, just like my son. And I said, Joe, get that one. And that's all I said, get that one. And I meant walk out there and get it, because our volley's just been over. And he shot the hell out of this duck that was already dead, laying in the decoys. And those were Corey's, brand new
Yes.
G&H, brand new battleships.
never happened.
Never happened.
Never.
Nope.
Yeah, get it. Well, he got it all right.
So once again, we're back to Bud. So Bud's passion for a pintail is beyond normal, is what I'm going to tell you. And
It's almost obsession.
it's almost obsession. So one afternoon, Bud and myself and my dad were sitting in one of our blinds on the south end, and it was slow. And I don't know, I'd been hunting like 4 or 5 days, so I was tired. And I said, Dad, let's go back to the house and chill for a while and let Bud hunt. So it's like, all right, hey Bud, we're gonna kick it and go back to the house. And he said, do you mind if I stay? I said, knock yourself out. And Bud's a phenomenal caller, by the way. I mean, just epic, bat. So
I think you're worse.
yeah,
Man, I got you beat.
I said, all right.
Well, I don't know.
So he's the all day hunter. He hunts till sundown. I actually texted him. I said, dude, you coming back? So he comes back. I hear the UTV pull up. I go outside after a couple hour nap. I said, how'd it go? And he goes, oh my God, I thought I blew it. I said, what's the matter? And
I had a butt pucker.
I'm going to let him tell the back half of the story, but the look on his face was amazing.
So I was sitting there, and I'm like, oh man, I can't call. I'm like, well, this is a good time to try. No one's around me. I'm like, wah, wah, wah. And I'm like, no, that's awful. I'm like, try it again. Wah, wah, wah. I'm like, no, that's horrible too. I'm just sitting there like, I'll just shut up. All of a sudden, a duck flies in. I'm like, whoa, there's a duck right there. I'm like, I'm gonna shoot it. And I'm like, bang. And it kind of does its little waddle. I'm like, oh, I'm going to shoot again. Bang! I'm like, I really wish I had a dog right now. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to go out in the levee and walk around and get it. And all of a sudden, the duck runs into some thick brush. And I was like, oh, okay, I know where he's at. I slowly walk up like a sniper, kind of walking up. All of a sudden, he just, he flies. I go, oh, bam! And as he was flying up, I see white and black. I'm like, oh, no. Please don't tell me that was a pintail. Please don't do that. And this bird just literally just blew up in the air. And I didn't think about the distance. I'm like, oh, I just screwed myself. I really screwed myself. I just shot my pintail. There's no way. And I'm like, well, you got to get it. So I walk up to him like, oh my God, thank God it's a Godwell. Oh my God, thank you. And I'm like, that's it, I'm done. I got to go back to the container. And I'm like stressing out. I was like, Rick, you never believe what just happened. Like, I almost shot a pintail, scared the shit out of me. And let me show you the pictures. He's like, yeah, bud, you got it. So I literally pulverized.
It was obliterated.
So the only identifiable thing on the duck that gave it away that it was a gadwall was that little maroon patch on its one wing, because everything else on the duck, it was
Everything else was bloodied.
it was gone, literally gone. Like the body had no body. It was just a wing and a leg and a neck, and I'm like,
that little mallet looking thing that people beat their meat with in the kitchen. And it looked like that. So I brought it back to the duck blind. I'm like, man, when am I going to do this? This poor duck. What am I going to do? It's like, well, he has a girl right here. Like, can I eat while I'm waiting for more ducks to come in? I'm like, nothing's left. I'm like, nope.
yeah, you create something almost every other weekend. You create some story that we can live by. It's only best described as that was a Ballone. He Balloned it up. He Balloned it up.
Are we going to go that far? That's a lot to say. I think we should just say he butted it.
He butted it. Yeah.
He butted it.
He butted it. So like you guys have your stories, we have Bud.
Well, the meat tenderizing part of it. I was fishing up at Truman Lake, and we had a big group, and so I said, hey, I'll bring in some deer meat, and I said, I'll cut it, and I'll pound it and get it good and thin, and I'll roll it up great. I call them deer roll-ups. Put a little
Cream cheese.
cream
and-
cheese
yeah.
and jalapenos in it and roll it up. And well, I'm in the hotel room. I had a few to drink after we got off the lake, and I'm sitting there. I did have a meat board, but I'm beating the crap out of this meat like that. And I get it all fixed, and I take it downstairs, and I said, okay, don't cook it too long, 5 minutes, you're done. And so I go back up. I mean, I had blood everywhere. I go back up, and I look around. The sink area where I had been doing that, it was up on the mirror, up on the walls. And I'm like, oh, geez, now I got to clean all this. And, and they got big signs everywhere. Do not clean fish in the rooms.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, they did the same thing about deer meat.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Well, some of those hotels we'd stay in over there in Missouri would say, do not clean ducks in the bathtub.
yes.
yeah. They had that
You know,
sign.
somebody has.
They
It's
had
too cold
that-
outside.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
don't
do it
make those
inside.
signs up. It's not like somebody just woke up and said, "Let's
They're
make
there
that."
for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. We were in Winnipeg for a week hunting up there in Canada, and the hotel had those signs: "Don't clean the ducks in the room. Don't clean the ducks." Everywhere you looked, it's like, I don't. People must be cleaning ducks everywhere in a hotel room because there's a sign on everything. Please don't clean the ducks in the bathtub. Please don't clean them on the sink. It's like, who does that?
They prefer you to do it in the lobby, or
I don't know.
I cleaned ducks in the Walmart parking lot, Dexter, Missouri, just after we left
Otter Slough.
Otter Slough. Had a good day with Gary and I and I think one of the brother-in-laws.
One of the brother-in-law, yeah, John.
And I like to pluck all the feathers off
oh my.
and then breast the birds because you leave that little fat
Yeah,
in between
yeah,
the skin and the
yeah.
meat, and it's really good. So I'm just plucking away, and Gary's got to go to the bathroom, so he goes into Walmart, and then I guess the wind blew all the feathers right in through the front door of the Walmart in
Welcome to Walmart.
in Dexter, Missouri, which is probably not an uncommon thing.
But what
If you've ever been to Dexter, you know what I'm talking about.
Going in was not a problem. It was when I came out, and because they had
Feathers
just started,
everywhere.
These feathers are all over the place. I'm going, what the heck? And I get back to the truck, and there's John throwing these feathers everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I think that's from that's from our
I
truck.
think I know who that is.
Never happened.
Well, that's good stuff.
Never happened. Never happened at our farm. Never plucked a duck. Never spread feathers everywhere. Never created anything that might raise alarm.
If I clean out my truck right now, I guarantee you a feather will float out from somewhere.
So my wife was laughing about this last weekend because we were cleaning our garage at home. And I don't clean ducks at home. I clean them at the farm. And she says, I don't know how the hell you do this, but in the garage, there's duck feathers in here from last winter. I said, honey, I'm telling you, I don't clean any ducks out here. And she goes, well, something did because there's feathers in here. And I'm like, that can't be good because I don't remember bringing any ducks in.
One of your mounts?
I'm like,
Better check with the dogs.
oh, shit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around the garage, and she says, they're mostly over in that corner. So I go over in that corner.
Mouse.
There's a mouse over there, He's got a big old thing of feathers. And I'm thinking, where the hell did he get those feathers at? Because where would he bring those?
Missing off a mount?
No, he's missing off a teal that I might have left in the garage.
Oh, no.
Yeah, pretty much since December. And it was on a shelf, on the top of the shelf, because I was going to keep it and mount it. And as soon as I saw the feathers, and I thought, those look like teal. Oh, shit, I know what that is. I looked up there. All there was just this little tiny, like legs and a head and a bill, and everything else was gone. I didn't tell my wife. I didn't say, hey, I left a duck in the garage.
No,
or
that-
anything.
no.
I didn't do anything. I just cleaned it up. And she asked me, she's like, how'd those feathers get there? I said, I don't know. I have no clue.
I was in my blind building days in public units. We did a lot of them. Shit, I probably did 4 of them. And I had an Asian carp get in between the battery and the transom. And I was pretty good about throwing them out, at the boat ramp, so I didn't bring any home. But I had generator, tools, all the stuff, and I didn't want to leave it in the street, so I put it in the garage. And I went back to work. It was August, hot. And then my wife, who doesn't cuss much or doesn't raise too much fuss, called me while I was at work and said, get the fucking boat out of the garage now, and it was smelling so bad,
Like death.
like terrible. And it was only a few hours in the garage. She came home and opened the door, and the whole house smelled. And yeah, those Asian carp are pretty nasty.
Yeah, I lost a white bass behind one of the seats in the bass boat for like 4 days in July. Yeah.
Yeah, don't park it in the garage.
Yeah, it was in the garage.
Oh, okay, yeah, so follow my advice.
We all have extremely great wives for this, right, Bud?
Tolerant and beautiful.
Yes. Well, I was going to suggest maybe since we sell turtle boxes here, those wonderful speakers that are 100% waterproof, maybe you should get her one of those.
Yeah.
I did get her one.
Yeah, honey, if
Oh,
you're
you
watching
did
this,
get
I
her
bought
one.
you one tonight, just so you know.
I bought my wife one for Mother's Day too, and I was shocked when she opened it up and she's like, "Wow, this is really." And my wife's not that kind of person. She opened it up, she's like, "Wow, this is really cool." And I
What
thought,
is it?
"Wow, I did something good for a change." So
And she forgot about that duck feathers.
well, not really, you know. So we just.
Bought my wife a Browning Gold one time for Christmas, 20 gauge.
Wow, that's brave.
It's a nice one.
And
That's
she
dangerous.
used who,
She-
so
that's
who
dangerous.
gets
She
the
loved
most?
it.
You
loved it.
She probably still remembers that.
She does remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Oh,
gotta-
yeah.
Wait, I got a Bud story.
A Bud story?
A Bud story, yeah.
I really need to write this stuff down and make a book out of it.
So, Bud brings his family one day, wife, 2 boys, they're hunting with us. Next day, his wife texts me and she says, "I went and bought a new gun because there was a store closing down, and I bought a nice new Franke automatic and this and that." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." Because she's a hunter. She's actually really is a hunter. So she buys this fancy semi-auto gun, and that following Saturday, I get in the duck blind in the morning, and I'm watching the sun come up, right? I'm looking down the blind. We all got Benellis. And I'm looking down at the end where Bud's at, and I'm like, that's not his normal gun. So I started studying it as the sun's coming up, and I'm thinking, that's not your gun. So I said, "Hey, Bud, pretty nice gun." He goes, "Yeah, I got it before Maggie did. I took it." I'm like, that's how he said. He said, "I took it." You know, like he was devious. "I took it."
Is that a good idea, Bud?
What was at that time?
From your point of view, what about hers?
Oh, trust me, I hear.
Yeah, she let me know about it too. "He took my fucking gun." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to get in the middle of this."
Well,
So
in fairness, I'm shooting. I'm coming to these duck blinds. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm bringing my old trusty Remington Wingmaster 870 pump shotgun, and I'm having a great old time. And I see these guys with their Benellis, like pow, 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 pow. I'm like, how in the world are they getting these off? It dawned on me, like, well, they're shooting semi-automatics. I'm like, well, I got one at home. I was gonna use that one.
even though it was Maggie's.
You know, the felt bottom boots. My feet froze. Yeah, I was
You
like,
didn't quite have what you needed.
No.
But you weren't falling on slippery rocks. Were you?
no. But then I ended up getting a pair of the waders from one of the big box, not big box, but the sporting goods.
Rogers? Was it Rogers?
No, it was
Cabela's,
Cabela's.
the Ultimag.
Yep.
Super Mag.
I go walking first time. I
Still
get
wear 'em.
Still
I
wear
get
'em.
waist
Still
deep
love
in
those
the
Super
water,
Mags.
and all of a sudden I said, "Boy, I feel like I'm in my pants." And lo and behold, the damn waders leaked
Really?
right in
Oh.
the crotch.
Ding! Have you ever heard of shin waders?
No.
Shin. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
CHCE.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are expensive.
Yeah, right in the crotch, and I got done. That well, of course, on the way home, I think I ran back by there and said, "These don't work. They're leaking. You want your money back or another pair?" I said, "Give me my money back. I'm not taking a chance on another pair."
Well, I got an education last fall. I mean, I've been hunting. I don't know, what were we, 10 or 11 when we started hunting?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Oh, when I first went,
Yeah.
4.
I don't think I was 4, but I was 10.
I think it was, hey, you got to watch the kid. Okay, we're going hunting.
I could see Larry saying that.
So, we've been through a lot of waders, obviously, over a long time. So last fall, we go down to this show in Louisiana, and I said, I want to go over there to that Shen booth. I want to talk to those guys. Jeff said, yeah, let's go over there and talk to him. So we went over and talked to him, and I got a real, actual education on waders, which I didn't expect. I was expecting hooty tooty kind of, come into our show area and this and that. And a young guy, duck hunter from Arkansas, he literally spent 15 minutes with me telling me, hey, this is why waders do what they do. And he actually went through the whole spew. He hit every point of a wader that fails, every point. He said, we redesigned it to do this. We did the fabric this way. We don't stitch in certain areas. We put overlaps on the boot. They don't have a boot that goes up high. They changed the game. And I'm not promoting Shen. I'm saying that they did a good job of educating me.
Are we going to see him in your store sometime
We're
soon?
going to do one better shortly. We're drifting into the Drake models. Drake has an equivalent wader to Shen. It's their high end,
The BMF.
the BMF, and it's done the same way. Long story short, what I really learned about waders is if you hunt more than a couple days a week, your waders has to fit a certain way for you to be able to do what you do. No waders from a big box store can fit you custom. They come out of the box, you get what you get in the boot size.
They actually measure you differently. They measure your waist, they measure your height. And it's okay, when you went to Cabela's, I said it. When you go to Cabela's, it's your boot size and you want regular or husky.
Standard or stout.
Yeah, that's it. That's your choices. These people, they're measuring your inseam. It's like you're getting fitted for a tux.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when they came, it came in a normal box. I opened them up, and I kind of had buyer's regret. You know how you have to spend that kind of money on something.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Man, this is crazy. So I get these things out, and they give you a fancy pair of pants with them, and I put them on, and go ahead.
They're gold.
Yeah, they're gold pants, so I got made fun of.
Cold pants.
And do you have a liner?
Is that like a-
Like wader pants? Like a
Yeah.
liner?
Yeah.
They call them wader pants. Jeff calls them fairy pants. So
Pajama pants.
yeah.
Hey, used to when I showed up down there, Rick was like getting his waders on. Now every time I show up, the waders are on.
He's already got them.
Nobody's
We're skipping that step.
yeah, nobody's getting that out of me.
That's why you're always ready to go before we get there.
It just occurred to you why I'm doing that
Yes,
now?
sir.
Okay.
It's
Light
the gold
bulb.
pants.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you wear them all day, multiple days in a row, you realize what a good pair of waders are really worth, how they fit. You're not fatigued. You don't have that sweat moisture inside of you. You're not drying stuff out at nighttime. It's just a game changer. And Jeff said, let's look at Drake's version. So the Drake people came up here and they showed us all their stuff they had. And I thought, wow, that's you just don't see in a normal store Drake's version of this wader because it's higher end, And he got to talking to Jeff and I, and he hit every point that Shen hit same way. Literally like they had a cue card. I'm like, wow. So we're trying to get him to get a pair to put in the store to show people.
I'm trying to get him to put a pair on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I know that Jeff and Bud and I, we've hunted together, so our stories are funny. But I want to hear some stories with Jeff and you guys because I know you guys have hunted together. I know there's stories because I've heard some of the chuckles.
Well, I've never got to hunt with Gary, but maybe we can fix that.
Okay.
I have hunted with Joe and John, and we were snow goose hunting. And it was a pretty good hunt. I think we ended up with, 30-something
I had a
birds?
pretty good pile on the tailgate.
Yeah. It was a good time. But at the very end, I'm on one end of the pit, the guide's on the other end of the pit, and he's the guy in charge, So I knew the guy next to me wasn't much on bird identification. He was a shooter. And
He was a shooter too. He's about, I don't know, was he 6'7"?
Yeah, shooting.
He didn't have to stand up in the blind. He
No,
just sat there. and-
shooting a 10 gauge.
Oh, my
10
gosh.
gauge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Most popular guy in the blind is the guy that shoots a 10
Yeah.
gauge.
Which
Yeah.
which one of you guys sat next to him?
that was me.
Yeah, me and Jeff.
John on one side, me on the other.
What? I
Yeah.
can't hear you, huh?
Yeah, you're right. It was a short 10 gauge too. But there were two singles, so I can't say a pair. They showed up separately, and they eventually, as birds do, got together, and they're swinging around the spread and swinging around the spread, and he's waiting to get him right over the top of the pit, which never happened. They actually put their feet down and were going to land when he called the shot. But about one swing before that, I was like, that's an immature specklebelly. So I elbowed the guy who doesn't know anything. Hey, do not shoot the dark one.
Don't shoot the speck.
I said, pass it on. And he said it to John and Joe. Well, that's about it when the guide called the shot.
Oh, the message stopped midway.
Yeah, the
between
message stopped in the middle of the pit. Everybody on the other end of the pit admitted to shooting it.
Yeah.
And there was, I think 8 guys, so nobody really knows who the actual felon crime breaker was.
That's
But
good.
Yeah.
It's the
Well, the other half of the blind was the culprits.
total
Yeah,
deniability, right?
Yeah. And of course they dropped it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, nothing got away that time.
No.
So, where'd you guys hunt when you were doing this?
Up by Carlisle.
Southern Illinois.
Southern Illinois. Yeah. Well, Southern Illinois is definitely a snow goose hotspot.
It is.
We hunt them pretty hard at my place. We set up pretty big. It's just kind of like hit or miss. Most of the problem at our place is if you have an extended duck season where the snow geese are there all season long, you can almost count on the first warm up, the first warm day, you're losing every snow goose you got. They're gone. So this was a weird year for all of us because we got to that point where duck season, I think we killed more snow geese during duck season than we have ever before. And January comes around, I'm all pumped. I'm like, they're here. We're going to have a great season. We're going to set up. We're doing all this. And damn snow and ice and all that shit set in. And I called Jeff and I said, we're screwed. I said, it's over. They've gone to the Gulf,
Yeah, but they got to come back.
They got to come back. So what did they do? They came back all in 5 days. I mean, it was just like train. Yep, we're all going north, and it was over with. So
Yep.
yeah.
But
So-
good stuff.
Yeah, hats off to those snow goose guides. They put in a lot of work, man.
Oh, it's insane.
It's a lot of work. So
We
a
had-
guided hunt there is a nice thing for a guy like me who doesn't have the capacity to have all those snow goose decoys. My gosh. So it's fun to go pay and have somebody do the work, and they drive you out there and drop you off, and you don't do anything, but shoot birds and have a good time.
Well, we got Bud, and when it's time to deploy, we deploy.
I also do birthday parties. You can if you want to.
Entertainment too,
Yeah,
right?
If you want,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be glad.
We haven't got him his duck suit yet.
Yeah.
Once we get him the duck suit, we're going to start renting him out to party.
Put them out on the highway.
So
Direct them in.
So we're camo in the blind. We're brushing it out, and I don't know about you guys, but when I'm brushing a blind, I'm just going. I'm brushing and everything, and I'm just putting it in there, and I'm just jamming it all up with everything I can. I look over, Bud is like an artist with every little stick, weaving it in here and turning it there, and he's just building this beautiful scenery on the back of the blind. And I stood back and looked at it, and I said, "Dear Lord, you're like an artist." And he turns around and he goes, "I am an artiste. I'm a blind artiste."
I'm an artiste.
So what are you telling me? You brushed 3/4 of it and Bud did 1 corner?
Yeah, exactly.
At that rate, we'll never be done.
I promised I wouldn't tell any more stories, and I did anyway.
Bud, every group needs a whipping boy, and I guess we know who that is now.
I'm truly honored.
Well, you know what?
I'm
If
the other way.
if you don't know who
If
it
you
is,
don't know, chances are it's you.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly right. That's some good advice for young guys.
Yeah.
It was my canvas. I mean, all great painters take their time. They're very particular, and
you should change your name to Bob Ross.
As many years I watched Bob Ross, all these happy trees. That's kind of probably what I was thinking. I was
He's
going,
only
this
brushing
happy
the blind
twig,
with happy trees.
happy trees. I might do a happy cloud right here.
Well, you know what actually does make Jeff pretty special is the fact, Jeff and Bud, is the difference in hunting. So Bud is a diehard deer hunter. I'm not a diehard deer hunter. So that passion for his deer hunting is so different when he comes duck hunting, because even though we're in the woods together, we're looking at everything totally different. He's looking at stealthy, quiet, don't rattle the water, don't do this, don't do that, and I'm over there throwing things around, making all hell break loose.
Yeah, don't burn the breakfast.
Don't burn the breakfast, So
I was wore orange.
yeah, so I've learned a lot from Bud hanging out with him, even when I tease him. I mean, I realize that, you know, a lot of times we're not stealthy at all, and we probably should be, and maybe there is some deer hunting strategies that you employ there, but it's hard to do when you come charging in with a truck or a UTV and 5 or 6 guys and everything's lit up and you're trying to get to where you're going to go, and he's, hey, be quiet, we got to sneak in the blind. I'm like, dude, we blew that 100 yards off, you know.
You have lights on the front of the blind.
Yeah, right. So it's like, yeah, we blew it.
It's like an airfield.
He can light the whole thing up. You can see the whole
like a
spread in the
stadium.
dark.
Everybody's planes
duck
don't land
stadium.
that night.
So
I've waved off 3 different airplanes.
well, that's pretty much because we have a lot of guests and we have a lot of new duck hunters. So we focus hard on getting getting somebody into hunting, right? And if you have it's like almost natural. If you put on a pair of waders, it gives you some authority to like, I'm going out in the water. Whether you should be out in the water or not, it's a different story, but you get the waders on and you get some empowerment, like I'm going out there. So when I go to set up motion decoys and get everything going in the morning, it's almost a given. I'll turn around and there'll be a couple guests wading out into the water with me that are fairly new. And I'll be like, do not come out here. Just stay where I don't mean to be rude, but stay back
Cords.
there. Yeah, I'm like, there's
Cables.
cords,
Yeah.
cables,
You're gonna
stumps.
knock
I'm
all
like,
this stuff over.
You just got to be really careful, and they'll just charge out there regardless of whatever. And almost every time somebody goes in the drink, I'm like, if you just stayed in that blind, it would be okay. So after a couple of years of doing this, I thought I'm going to put lights on the front of the blind so that when people come out in the water, they can see decoys. Don't go near the decoys. I thought that solved it all, right? We got the problem solved. That didn't work with a shit. That was almost like an attractant. It's like,
Then when they turn around, they're blind.
it's like you can't see it.
You can actually see your blinds on Google Earth. I think there's little Google Earth images of your blinds.
Everything lit up is for a reason. It was lit up because somebody made a mistake in the past, and we thought, okay, let's put some light on that, and that'll solve that. And it just never seems to solve it. If you give a guy a pair of waders, he's empowered. I got to go there. So
You know, I gotta say, when my youngest son was, I don't know, 7, I bought him a pair of waders and took him hunting. And the whole hunt, can I go out in the water? 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 So I said, wait till the end of the hunt. And somebody else was going out to turn off the motion decoys. I'll go with them then. Okay. It was 3 steps into the decoys. It was November. It was cold, and we had him on the levee. He had one. My buddy had one leg. I had the other one, and we held him upside down and drained all the water out. That was why I waited till the end of the hunt.
that is.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, Pops.
Well, it's a learn.
Well, you knew Dawson, didn't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
You know, he might have known himself. Maybe this was driven by the fact that he might have done that when he was a kid.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll
Well,
put in a plug for Missouri at the conservation areas that we hunt. Almost all the places have free loaner waders for kids.
really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I mean,
So I mean, they're trying to get the younger people involved.
I don't remember which wader company does that, but they have a deal where you buy the first pair of waders and they swap them out
Well, like a trade-up program.
like every year
Yeah.
for a while. And I think there's a company that does it with guns.
really.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying something new. We probably haven't shared this with you guys yet, but I think some of our viewers might know it. So, you know, duck hunting is slowly declining in new hunters. It's slowly declining, and everybody's got to do their part to bring new hunters into the sport. DU does it, Delta does it, they all do it. Turkey Federation does it, and I think a couple of the manufacturers have figured it out. So, hunting gear is almost like a lifestyle. The big brand starts with an S that everybody has. Everybody has a Sitka hat. Everybody has a Sitka vest. Everybody, I mean,
I own nothing since
Except for me.
I can't afford it.
so they made a lifestyle and they made a brand out of it, and it just took off with even non-hunters. I mean, non-hunters are wearing.
Oh, you see it. You see it at the bar.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
All the 20-year-olds at the bars are wearing Sitka gear to the bar.
It's crazy. So
It's
we,
funny.
the three of us,
That's
are,
like a sign I have money.
I guess so. I mean, it's like, is it really? Is
Yeah,
it,
it is.
Is it a flex with you 20-year-old? Do you have Sitka
I don't
stuff?
have anything Sitka now.
Okay, just wondering.
yeah, it's a.
I probably paid for it if you did. I'm just kidding. No, he's on his own. He's off the payroll.
Well, I think they managed to turn that brand into something that young people want. They want to buy it. They want to do this. They want to do that. And there's some other brands coming up right now doing the same thing. And us three are actually working on a brand of our own to do something very similar. And it's a slow roll, but we're going to actually have some apparel that's branded with the 6 Mile Salute logo. So
Good.
that's coming. You know, and it's all part of getting new hunters, getting younger hunters, helping vets. Well, Bud's done an amazing job with hunting and trying to get vets into hunting and helping them. And in fact, I think part of the auction hunt went to an organization, didn't it, Bud?
It did, but
Yes.
we haven't got around to finishing it quite yet,
Okay.
and that's my fault.
No, when we get there, we're trying to donate some of the proceeds that we got through the dinner auction at the Ducks Unlimited. And this place is called Dude's Playground. It's located in Waterloo, Illinois. It's for an area that helps veterans, a place for them to feel safe, enjoy the outdoors. So we're trying to raise some money for them to keep that operational in that place. Some veterans that might be dealing with PTSD or some type of traumatic, they can go there and feel safe and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah, we think very much of that stuff, and we thank you guys for your service because we know you did your part, and you keep doing your part, and you know anything we can do to help along the line, and you know we've always offered we'll take vets hunting.
And a shout out to John's other son,
Oh yeah,
who was an active duty Marine.
Oh
he's
my
in
gosh.
Okinawa right now.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, hats off! Hats off!
Yep.
Wow,
And Jeff, too,
congratulations!
he served in the Navy as well.
Well, so did Bud.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys. We appreciate you having on tonight. And,
Glad to be here.
We're going to keep doing these podcasts, and they're pretty informal, and they're pretty simple, and they're pretty fun, and we get to pick on somebody all evening long and drink a couple beers. And
Again, you're welcome to rent me out. I'll do parties, events, I cook for you. You know, just let me know.
yeah, so thank you, everybody. This is going to be the end of the.
Before we sign
sorry,
out,
Bud.
I'm sorry, Rick. Before we sign out, with Memorial Day coming out, I just want to make sure we take the time out to remember those who have gone before us. They're not forgotten. Our love is with them. Love with the families. I know it's tough to lose your loved ones. So those who have gone, sorry if I get emotional, but just make sure you take the time out to remember those that have served, have died, and you know, there's a reason why it's called Memorial Day. So make sure you take your time and remember those who have fought for our freedom, because it's not free.
Thanks, Bud.
Rock
Well
on,
said,
Bud.
Bud.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
2003, and of course, our Sport Dog Team of the Year.
That's how they qualified for this year's championship.
You get that short right first.
He's going by it. He's actually going to drive by that boat and go for the long right-hand side of the flower pot. If this works out, this could be the way to run it.
Our last
Okay.
our last podcast, he displayed a turkey call.
Yeah.
And he started to gag on it. And he goes, he's gagging on it. And Jeff and I are like, are you gagging on it? He goes, I'm gagging on it.